I've noticed there's been a lot of people who have access currently to Sandbox wondering where's the Sandbox game mode. In short, they removed it. Thanks for watching. Just kidding, they didn't only remove it, but there's actually a longer answer to this question. Now, please do remember that one of the reasons why they removed it is because of this right here. So, yeah. While it was originally available back when the previous entity system was in the game, I do remember trying it as one of the first games I played on Sandbox. Now, we all know a ton of people love the idea and mostly spend all their time on Garry's Mod specifically for the experiences and customization that the Sandbox game mode does provide. Well, it's not surprising that with Sandbox being a spiritual successor, it would also include the one game mode that also brought its predecessor into legendary game status. While it's only the tip of the iceberg with this game, let's actually focus on it. The version of the Sandbox game mode that I remember playing on Sandbox was pretty bare bones. Aside from a new UI design and features like downloading models and add-ons directly from the in-game menu, and then having your model download and load instantly, it lacked many features, including a large array of options to choose from in the menus and also a light selection of models that were available due to how early in development this version was. It was really nice to see that Facepunch had a small selection of models that they've used as a base front for you to choose from. Even skimming through older videos, it made sense that Facepunch would have their own library of models to choose from in this mode. Of course, let me just get this question out of the way immediately. No, you cannot mount or use Source 2 models in Sandbox. If you're screaming and wondering why, it was already mentioned by Garry recently with the DMCA takedown of the Team Fortress Source 2 project. Facepunch and Garry have only access to the Source 2 engine, not including the Valve assets. While I'm sure I could make another video about this, I'll sum it up as Garry's decision on why he didn't want this was to make sure that the look and feel of the game was nothing like Garry's mod. If you also notice in that last statement I showed on screen, he also states the same thing I just said. It has been rumored that the Sandbox game mode would get a rework sometime within the future, and when I heard about this was at least a year ago when I properly got access to the developer preview. Unfortunately, this was just a rumor though, as I wish I could have found more concrete evidence, but the only trail I could find is that the tool gun had gotten an early rework, which was changed 2 times, and the game mode itself disappearing entirely during the development of the new scene system. Now, if you would think, well, if Facepunch and Garry can't use the Valve assets in a game mode that's famously known for that, what does that even mean for folks who want to import their own assets, and also for Facepunch working on the so-called reworked version you speak of? I'll answer this in 2 parts. Starting with the good news of this new reworked version, there is evidence of this happening as some weapons that are mostly used in the Sandbox game mode have gotten their own models that could be used in Sandbox. Not only that, but it can actually double as assets that anyone else can use in their games as placeholders or weapons to use for their own games too. This means Facepunch and Garry want to put their own touch onto the game mode while implementing new features that we'll get into later on. Now, for the bad news, unfortunately due to the previous mention that Facepunch does not have access to Valve assets for any of their games, that means that any games that are created on Sandbox using assets that are imported, uploaded, and used in these games will have a 100% chance of being removed and taken down. This makes sense since it was mentioned in the Team Fortress Source 2 DMCA that the project had unauthorized use of the Team Fortress 2 assets that were ported into the Source 2 engine and were being redistributed by Amper Software for the project in Sandbox. In short, Valve can do this because it's their assets and they own it. But again, it's an intellectual property or IP, and if you decide to do this without a proper license bought to use from Valve, then this gives Valve the right to take it down. I'm not going to fully get into all of that, but that's going to be the same thing that will happen for anyone who's possibly thinking of porting over any Half-Life source models or assets. Just don't do it. Okay, so what does that mean for the folks who do want to create their own Garry's Mod in Sandbox? Well, I've covered 2 Gmod-like projects on Sandbox back before the system rework, which were called Sandbox Plus, a game created to be like the classic Gmod mode, and Gmodify, which was an add-on specifically tailored to the Sandbox version of Sandbox. Man, I'm saying that a lot. Which would bring back the classic UI and feel while still allowing you to take advantage of the new models and features. There's also Sandbox, which was created as a Sandbox-like game mode to play currently as of this video, but it's pretty bare bones, and while it does allow you to use add-ons and more, There's obviously a lot of work that needs to be done to consider this to be a recommendation as an alternative game to play. I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of these type of games to appear here and there in the future, as the intent for some of these games mentioned were to create a Gmod in Source 2, and while there might be plenty of clones, I'd assume hopefully there would be only one good alternative, just like the Sandbox Plus game I covered last year. While it's very obvious Facepunch is working on other things to improve with the game right now, and also putting the famed mode on the back burner for reworking and improving, eventually when they're ready, they'll properly show what they got going on. And once more again, with this new updated scene system, I wonder how far they'll actually take this mode and build on top of it as its own game in Sandbox. Now, if you're wondering so much about this new engine switch, check out this video right here where I talk more about if Sandbox could possibly threaten Unity's reign. Thanks for watching.